Today, the United States renews our deep bond with Britain, military, financial, cultural, and political. We have one of the great bonds.
Now this government are hand in hand with another fascist, Trump. This man is not fit to walk in the footsteps of Nelson Mandela.
No deal for Britain is better than a bad deal for Britain.
No Prime Minister, no government can expect to be unanswerable or unchallenged. Parliament alone is sovereign.
We have seen in this country a smart businessman who is now out on his yacht, leaving the BHS workers without a job or a pension.
There's a story going about that you've set a date for when you're going to quit as Labour leader.
That's in the ImadeItUpYesterday.com.
Is there absolutely no truth in that?
Absolute nonsense.
So your future as Labour leader is absolutely intact. You've not considered for a moment whether you as leader are damaging the party's
I'm really
chance.
surprised the BBC is reporting fake news.
The latest poll puts Labour 18 points behind the Conservative government. That's the biggest lead since you became leader, and it's been like that for a few months now, which suggests that even if voters agree with your message, they like your message, they've stopped listening to you as the messenger.
Is there ever a moment that you look in the mirror and think, do you know what, I've done my best, but this might not be for me?
And my question to you is, if you're so concerned about what the Conservative government is doing to Britain, wouldn't it be an idea to step aside and allow someone else to lead Labour?
You're obsessed with this question, if I may say so. If you bother to report what the Labour Party is actually saying, it's your responsibility to make sure that the opposition voice is heard as well as the government's voice. It's your failings.
The Article 50 process is now underway, and in accordance with the wishes of the British people, the United Kingdom is leaving the European Union. This is an historic moment from which there can be no turning back.
So here it is. 6 pages.
We already in issue. Thank you and goodbye.
On the 22nd of March, a terrorist ploughed through pedestrians on Westminster Bridge, killing 4 and injuring 50. He then stabbed to death a policeman just outside the Houses of Parliament. He was later shot dead.
Under you, is that absolutely certain that we're not going to see an election before 2020?
I'm not going to be calling a snap election. I have just chaired a meeting of the Cabinet where we agreed that the government should call a general election to be held on the 8th of June.
Jeremy Corbyn to be replaced as leader of the Labour Party this year. That's now 1 to 5. Those odds probably go to 1 to 10 by the time I finish this interview, frankly, because they're only in chalk, not even in ink. But Corbyn doesn't look like he's going to get much past June 9th at this rate, as far as the odds are concerned.
I think if Jeremy leads us into a general election, we face a 1931 style wipeout for the Labour Party.
Well, Labour would be in no shape whatever to fight such an election.
Absolutely not. We would. There's a real risk we would get absolutely wiped out. And what we know, having seen Jeremy Corbyn in a position of leadership for some time, he cannot do the job. Right. And if he is a decent man, he should do the decent thing.
It's a pretty disastrous picture. It's simply not good enough for a party that's been in opposition for 7 years, that's heading towards a general election in 5 weeks, to not be picking up seats and not making forward progress.
Well, there's give and take in every marriage, isn't there? Of course. Yeah. I get to decide when I take the bins out, not if I take the bins out.
But, I mean, of course...
There's boy jobs and girl jobs, you see.
There's boy jobs and girl jobs.
Did I ever set out in life to become Prime Minister? No. I set out in life to try and change things and try and bring about greater justice in our society. And I was elected leader of our party, re-elected leader of our party. I'm honoured and proud to lead the party, and I'm giving it everything I can to win this election.
She's a liar, liar. She's a liar, liar. No, 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 no. She's a liar, liar. She's a liar, liar. No, 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 no.
Our events are outdoors, open air, and anybody can come.
call Hamas your friends, despite the fact they kill
It was an inclusive piece
women
of
and children.
It was an inclusive piece of language in order to get a meeting underway. I do not agree with them. I do not support them. I want there to be a process. But at the end of the day, there has to be a process in which people talk to each other. You know that.
How is enabling rich people to pass on wealth to the next generation helping the just about managing?
What is helping is ensuring that we don't have a long-term solution
for
our
question.
social...
No, my question was how it helped the just about managing.
And I'm answering your question,
You're not.
Jeremy.
Can you remind us how many times you told us after you became Prime Minister that there would not be a general election until 2020? It was in March you told us we didn't need to have a general election because it would destabilise the country until 2020.
You have just announced a significant change to what was offered in your manifesto, saying there will now be the possibility of a cap on social care that was not in the plans that was announced just 4 days ago.
Our social care system will collapse unless we address this problem. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed.
We have put our faith in the British people and in our ability to be able to put forward our arguments and our alternative vision. And the fact is, you know, this is the biggest star that we have in our show, which is a series of ideas and an alternative vision for Britain.
This is a programme of hope. The Tory campaign, by contrast, is built on one word: fear.
I never was into politics because I never thought politicians were like normal people until now.
23 people, including the attacker, were killed after a bomb went off at a pop concert at the Manchester Arena.
This was among the worst terrorist incidents we have ever experienced in the United Kingdom.
Less than 2 weeks later, and 5 days before the election, a second terror attack, this time on London Bridge. 8 people were killed and the 3 attackers shot dead by police.
And what we're saying is the Conservatives are the largest party. Note, they don't have an overall majority at this stage. We've been through the most fascinating night, to tell the truth. I don't think any of us expected when we sat down here, when I got the exit poll in that secret room out the back there, and we looked at it absolutely aghast. We couldn't believe it. In fact, it's a document that I'll put on eBay one day and make a fortune from, because it was just exactly, nothing had prepared us for it. Just tell us a bit about Jeremy Corbyn and his character, because he must be tough as old boots to have gone through that campaign, having been monstered by the press on, you know, big scale, having his own 80% of his own MPs against him.
On the last day of campaigning at one of his rallies, he said, it's not just about electing MPs. Now, by normal convention, you say, it's only about electing MPs. That's the point. But for him and his supporters, what seemed for most people in the Labour Party to be a crackpot view to start with, to say it's not about winning, they would say it's about a movement, it's not just about winning. But actually, that formula has got the Labour Party further along the line than its last couple of leaders. Quite something. It's an amazing achievement.
It's an extraordinary performance on behalf of the Labour Party and shows what we can do when we unite.
How would you avoid that being the coalition of chaos that the Tories said it would be if Theresa May wasn't re-elected with the majority? Coalition of chaos.
There's no coalition. There's no deals.
So not a coalition of chaos, just chaos.
Have you been asking any Tory MPs whether, given the situation they're now in, that they may be in the position whereby they're heading for a coalition of chaos?
Well, no, they all say they're going to have a majority.
Well, there we are. They've been saying that all the time, haven't they? I remember, well, what was their majority going to be? It was going to be 100, wasn't it? Or 120, 150 seats? That clearly is wrong, isn't it?
We ran a pretty dreadful campaign. That's probably me being generous. I can't explain exactly what has happened. Dear God, we never thought at the beginning of this evening, or this day, that we'd be in a position where we were actually losing seats, and seats which we've held with excellent MPs over some considerable time. This is a very bad moment for the Conservative Party.
Can she remain Prime Minister?
That is a matter for her, David.
That sounds like a no to me.
It's bad.
I mean, Theresa May is a dead woman walking. It's just how long she's going to remain on death row.
Today we have reached an outcome that is good for the United Kingdom.
There isn't a magic money tree that we can shake that suddenly provides for everything that people want.
But more armed police officers on the streets than ever before, we're told?
No.
Armed police officers on the streets than ever before?
No, they're not. Basically, people that are alleging that are lying.
So the government are lying?
Yes.
The Defence Secretary's lying when
yes.
you say
I'm sorry, Prime Minister, but we have nurses going to food banks at the moment. That must be wrong.
We have, and there are many complex reasons why people go to food banks.
There's people jumping out the window. That's a real bluff. Oh. Well, it's towering inferno, isn't it? How is that possible? How is that even possible? How is that happening?
Well, I think that there needs to be questions answered about fire regulations and why, a bill that was meant to be passed was voted against by 312 Tory Conservative MPs, 80 of which I hear are landlords. There has to be a conflict of interest there, and that needs to be investigated.
The leader of Kensington and Chelsea Borough Council, in the year that the botched and I would say scrimping refurbishment of Grenfell Tower took place, was writing to the richest residents of the richest borough in one of the richest countries in the world, saying, here's £100 each, because we've done such a great job of saving money.
There's a lot of anger here towards the council, how they've dealt with people's concerns building up to this event and how they've dealt with things after the event as well.
I've got to go now to Parliament in order to raise questions.
Absolutely.
Thank you on behalf of the community. And that's what I'll be doing. Thank you all very much indeed.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
We want people to have the confidence of knowing that when the inquiry reports, it will be bringing the truth out.
The petition was asking for an ethnically diverse panel of experts to sit alongside retired Judge Martin Moore-Bick. He seemed happy to have people on board he could consult, but he said that giving them decision-making powers was up to Theresa May because she established the inquiry's rules. But on her way back to London from a Christmas trip visiting military personnel in Cyprus, she declined the request.
From Hillsborough to the child sex abuse scandal to Grenfell Tower, the pattern is consistent. Working class people's voices are ignored, their concerns dismissed by those in power.
They may have lost the election, but Labour's Autumn Party conference felt a bit more like a victory parade. It wasn't like this last year.
Thank you so much for that wonderful welcome and this incredible feeling and spirit and unity and love and affection we have here.
Excuse me. The deficit is back to pre-crisis levels. And strength that was shared around the globe. And strength that was shared around the globe.
Allegations have been made about MPs' conduct, including my own. Many of these allegations have been false, but I realise that in the past I may have fallen below the high standards that we require of the armed forces that I have the honour to represent. I have reflected now on my position in government, and I am therefore resigning as Defence Secretary.
These are pictures of Priti Patel leaving Number 10 this evening. She was called back from a trip to Africa earlier today. Patel's departure was widely expected. After an initial discussion, she had reportedly failed to disclose another meeting she had in Westminster with the Israeli Public Security Minister.
After spending weeks teetering on the edge, Damien Green becomes the latest member of Theresa May's inner circle to be pushed from the cabinet. An internal inquiry found the Prime Minister's deputy had made misleading statements to investigators about pornography found on his parliamentary computers in 2008.
We all want a close and strong future relationship with the UK. There's absolutely no question about it. But before discussing the future, we have to sort out our past.
The UK decided to leave the EU, not the other way round, and the consequences are substantial.
We will not accept any form of regulatory divergence which separates Northern Ireland economically or politically from the rest of the UK.
Sufficient progress has now been made on the strict terms of the divorce.
I very much welcome the prospect of moving ahead to the next phase.
The ayes to the right, 309. The noes to the left, 305.
How much of our money are you prepared to give Brussels in order to get a deal?
I don't think it's going to be about paying over money to get a deal.
Here comes the sun.